This to discuss more on this, we're joined by foreign policy analyst Bolu Michael-Biyi. Bolu, thanks for joining us. I mean, let's just get started because we're pressed for time. In what ways might Bondi's confirmation just affect the handling of foreign investigations, such as those involving foreign interference in U.S. elections or cross-border financial crimes?
Okay, I think the major concern of the Democratic cause, or in fact the entire Congress, is her closeness to President-elect Trump. That gives rise to the concerns of conflict of interest. Whether she's going to be impartial in her way of doing things and how she runs the Department of Justice. But during her screening, she has emphasized her commitment to ensure as much as possible that there's no form of partiality in the course of business, and I want to believe that she'll be able to, stick to her to her words. Peradventure she's confirmed and she takes up that role.
And how might the lack of transparency or direct communication between the White House and the Justice Department impact the international community's perception of the U.S. legal proceedings and fairness? That has very much been under scrutiny or microscopic lens on the international stage for some time now, and this just puts a nail on it, probably.
Well, I think the international community would lose that confidence in the U.S. justice system if they see that, okay, they are not independent in any way, and that will be their concern, that will be their question. They begin to question the commitment of the country to fairness, to justice, and it's important to also note that historically there are structures and policies in place to limit such kind of communication between department, or specifically the Department of Justice and the White House. So in such a way that there won't be any form of suggestion of any form of executive interference. And I think the incoming administration will want to keep it that way. If not, it's just going to be like a cycle of things. Because the Congress believes that the current Justice Department they pursued the liberal agenda, and if Bondi is coming in and pursuing the Republican or conservative agenda, then there's no difference from the status quo. But she has given her word that if she's confirmed and she take up the role, she will be committed as much as possible to ensure that there's no partiality in any form.
And what are the risks of the Justice Department's policies potentially limiting the ability of the U.S. government to respond, flexibly to evolving foreign policy challenges or crises? Is Bondi, up to the tasks?
Well, Bondi has a very fine background, and I think the challenge would be if she's too rigid, or she runs the department in a very rigid way. So if she's too rigid, then it's going to be clogs and fetters in the wheel of justice, or in terms of foreign policy direction. The justice system or department should not be an hindrance to the Trump administration adapting to the foreign policy changes, or the changes in the international affairs. That's the word I was looking for. Because if they are deemed to be partisan or political in any way, the international community will be reluctant to cooperate with them. So it's for the good of the U.S. government, especially the Department of Justice, to ensure that they're not partial in any way, so that they'll be able to get the support of the international community. Because no agency, no foreign agency, no country will want to have conversations with an organization that they deem to be, partisan or polarized in any way.
Let's away from Bondi, right, and let's talk about Marco Rubio. How might Rubio's confirmation as Secretary of State influence U.S. foreign policy priorities, particularly in relation to, Latin America and U.S.-Cuba relations?
Okay, the interesting thing is that even though Marco Rubio is from Florida, he also has a Cuban background. He's from Cuba originally. And he has strong stance on countries like China, on Iran, on Venezuela, on even Cuba that that is from. So he has these really strong views, and I think the fact that he's from there would shift, will give greater attention to Latin America, and the fact that he has a strong position, there's a tendency that we'll begin to see stronger foreign policies targeting Cuba, because he has a very strong stance against. He's been a very vocal critic of the Cuban government. So it's likely that with him as Secretary of State, which is the #1 diplomat in the country, there's a tendency that we might see stronger foreign policy targeting Cuba.
Well, we're just a few days away from the swearing-in, ceremony, and then confirmation dates are just around the corner. We hope to see what the cabinet will do, and also we hope to see what the president-elect will do when he comes into office. Only time will tell, but it's going to be a long 4 years for certain. Bolu, many thanks for doing this with us. Bolu Michael-Biyi, our just analyst there, giving us a bit of insight concerning the confirmation hearing on